What's up, everybody? Today's video topic is college survival. I'm in early college, which basically means I'm in high school taking classes that fulfill my high school requirements, but I go to school at a physical college. So I thought it would be really cool to give some tips to all of the people who are my age who will be going into college next year. So I've got 10 tips for you guys today, and let's just jump right in to the first one. Tip number 1 is to know what classes you need. This was probably my biggest mistake. In college, I kind of went into college just taking whatever classes seemed right, and at the time, what I was told to take by my high school advisor, so that's kind of complicated, but basically, I just mean go find an advisor at your college and know what you're doing if you're getting your associates, your bachelor's, whatever it is, figure that out, and go talk to an advisor and they will tell you what classes you need to take, and you can check the schedule and figure all of that out. That is really, really useful because when you get to the end, you're not going to be freaking out about all the classes that you didn't know you needed to take. Tip number 2, when you are researching what classes you want to take, make sure you research the teachers too. This is super important because you don't want to take a class that is something you thought you'd be interested in, but has such an awful teacher that it totally ruins the topic for you. This happens a lot, but it could happen the reverse way where you take a class you're not really interested in but you need to take, but the teacher's so great that you end up really loving the class. That is a really good place to be. So I recommend going on to the schedule of all the different classes for the term. There might be a bunch of the same class that you want to take, but they're taught by different teachers and at different times. So instead of just figuring out the time, figure out what teacher is best first. You can do this by going to ratemyprofessor.com, which is what I use every single term. It's really useful, and you really get to know what kind of teacher they are. Is the class easy? Are they really helpful? All the different things. It's super useful. Tip number 3 is to register early. I cannot stress this enough. Registering early is a huge deal because if you want to get a class with a good teacher, those classes fill up fast. And some other classes that a lot of people need to take they just fill up fast because they're a popular class. But some classes fill up the day of registration. Registration's normally open for a month before the term, or if it's for the fall, it's open like all summer long and before then. So you really got to get into those classes with the good teachers and the right ones you need and all of those things. Those are definitely a must. Rate My Professor is gold. Tip number 4, don't buy the book early. I know so many people who do this, and I did this my first time too. You'll go on after you register for classes and it'll be like, oh, this book is required for the course, you must buy it, here's the link to buy it. First, you probably shouldn't buy it from the link they give you unless there's literally nowhere else you can get it. Before that, just don't even bother getting the book unless your teacher sends you something before class saying that you have to have it on the first day. That's really rare, but it does happen sometimes. The reason why you shouldn't buy the book before class is because there's so many different things that could happen when you get there on the first day. Your teacher might say, oh, that book actually isn't required, it's optional, which does happen. There's also, you might find out that the book you need actually requires some code, and if you already bought it, then now you're screwed because you have to pay $100 for just a code to some online things. That usually happens in a lot of math classes, so beware. The other thing is, sometimes the books just cost a ton of money and you don't really need to use them that much, so you can probably go to your library at your school, and more often than not, they will have the book there that you can check out for like 3 hours at a time. And then you can just do all your studying at the library and you don't have to pay anything. There's also a couple times where you'll run across a teacher that says an old version of the book still works, and you can get the older version and pay a lot less money for that if you still need to buy it. Tip number 5. This is also really, really important. All of these are important, but this one I highly recommend. Is before the first day of school, go to campus and find your classes. You can do this the day of classes if you get there early, but I recommend going like a week before classes and find where all your classes are. I don't know about any of you guys, but I always have at least one of those dreams where I'm running around campus and I can't find any of my classes and I'm late and all of these bad things are happening, this happens every time. But if you find your classes first, you will know where they are already and you won't get lost. Tip number 6. This is also really important. I've never done this, but I do know that this is a really big deal. Is not to skip any classes in the first week of school. This seems really obvious, but people do it all the time. If you don't show up for day 1, that's really bad. Because if there's a wait list, lots of times teachers will just automatically drop you if you don't show up. And they'll fill your spot with one of the waitlisted people. That happens a lot on day 1, but it can also happen on any of the rest of the days in the week. So make sure you are there and make sure you're there for attendance specifically. Tip number 7 is kind of one that I don't necessarily always follow, but I think it's a pretty good idea. And that is to acquaintance yourself with somebody in each one of your classes, just in case there's any group projects or partnered activity things, because believe me, these group projects and partner activities do not stop in high school. It continues and they suck. Tip number 8 is to try. That also sounds really stupid, but believe me, the teachers that are going to be teaching these classes that you take could care less if you pass. It's all up to you, and they're not going to ask you to stay after class and be like, hey, why are you failing? Do you have some problems that I can help you work through? Those don't happen. Very rarely would that ever happen. In order to survive college, you pretty much have to be really self-motivated, depending on what kinds of classes you're taking, I suppose. There's going to be some that are easy A's, but there's going to be some where you gotta work your butt off in order to pass. Tip number 9 is to utilize office hours. If you don't know what office hours are, it's basically just your teacher's office where you can go ask questions. Sometimes you gotta make an appointment. It's pretty self-explanatory, but that's basically what it is. You can't always stay after class to ask teachers questions about things. They are usually really busy and have tons of other classes and tons of other students, and they don't even maybe know who you are, who knows. But utilizing their office hours is a great way to get help on homework that you're confused about, and if you need to take a test early or retake a test. My last tip is kind of a funny one. It's basically just to not worry about grades so much. That seems weird because in college, your grades really matter. But once you get that 1B, it makes the rest of college just way easier. You don't have to worry about keeping the 4.0 GPA. Just trust me. Well, you guys, that is my 10 tips for surviving college. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have other tips, leave them in the comments. I really want to hear because I'm still in college and I'm sure everyone else would love to hear them. So don't forget to thumbs up if you are in college, if you're surviving college, and if you enjoyed my survival tips. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below if you want to see more videos, and make sure to share this video with anyone you know that is starting college, is in college, just finished college and wants to reminisce on all the awful college things. And it would really help me out, and I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye!